What's going on, everybody, and welcome to my super simple Black Temple guide. We're going to get you guys in and out of this raid as fast as possible. So up first, we have High Warlord Naj'entus. As for the positioning, your tank is going to want to tank him where he stands. A druid tank is preferred, although a paladin can tank it as well. Melee split into 2 or 3 stacks, depending on how many groups you have, similar to Hydros. Range is going to spread out towards the back of the room, and you don't have the entire raid stacked together. During the fight, Naj'entus will throw a spine into a player. Someone nearby needs to click to pick up that spine and hold the spine until Naj'entus puts up his title shield. Throw the spine at him to break the shield. Keep in mind, when you break the shield, there will be damage going out to the raid. Healers, make sure the raid is healthy before the shield gets broken. So the super simple strategy for this boss is to spread out, heal the impaled players, pick up the spine, wait for the shield, pop the shield after the raid is healthy, and repeat until he's dead. Up next, we have Supremus. For positioning, use the left side of the room. Use 3 tanks, although 2 may be possible with gear. Melee, stack near his left foot, and ranged, stay within healer range, but don't stack too tightly. For phase 1, Supremus uses Hateful Strikes. Tanks need to stay high on threat, similar to Gruul, and melee need to immediately move away from any blue fire put on the ground. In phase 2, this is going to be where he fixates on random players. If you're fixated, run away, move left or right away from the boss, and do not let him catch you. During this time, volcanoes will spawn around the room. Get away from them, they shoot fireballs around them, and it's a lot further of a range than it looks like. While this is happening, also make sure to avoid all blue fire on the ground. It's important to note that threat does reset after the fixate phase. Give the tanks a moment to establish threat again before going crazy. So the super simple strategy for taking on Supremus is tanks hold him, melee avoids blue fire, range stays loosely spread. When you're fixated, run away, avoid volcanoes, and after fixate, let tanks regain threat. Repeat this until he dies. Next, we have Shade of Akama. This fight is extremely simple. In phase 1, DPS the Ash Tongue channelers down. You need to kill all 6 channelers. Kill the sorcerers that replace them, and once the channelers are dealt with, the Shade breaks free. Shade of Akama walks toward Akama in the middle of the room. Follow Akama toward the center. As soon as Shade becomes attackable, this is when you're going to pop Bloodlust and burn the boss. So the super simple strategy for this boss right here is to kill channelers, kill sorcerers, follow Akama, lust, and burn down Shade. It's definitely the easiest fight in here. Next, we have Teron Gorefiend. As for positioning here, the tank takes Teron where he stands. Range stacks towards the top of the staircase, and you keep the main raid together. The only mechanic that really matters is Shadow of Death. A player gets a 60-second debuff. When it expires, you die. You then become a ghost. If you get the debuff, move to the far corner of the room on either side. Do not die near the raid. When you become a ghost, your job is to kill the incoming skeletons. Use your abilities 5, 4, and 3. Control/slow the skeletons and kill them before they reach the raid. So the super simple strategy for taking on this boss is to tank the boss where he stands, stack your range on the top of the staircase. If you get Shadow of Death, run to the designated corner, die there, become a ghost, hit 5, 4, and 3, kill skeletons, and everyone else pumps the boss. Next, we have Gurtogg Bloodboil. This fight looks complicated, but it's actually pretty simple once the raid understands positioning. For tank positioning, use 3 tanks, face Gurtogg away from the raid, and all 3 tanks need to stay very close on threat. Your other tanks should ideally remain number 2 and 3 on the meter. Gurtogg applies Acidic Wound. Swap tanks at roughly 14 stacks. He also casts Bewildering Strike, which can force an additional tank swap. All tanks need to stay ready to pick him up at all times. Ranged start stack together. Bloodboil hits the 5 furthest players away from the boss. We handled this by using groups 3, 4, and 5. Those were our ranged groups. So for Bloodboil number 1, we had group 3 step backwards, group 3 takes the Bloodboil, and then moves back into the stack. For Bloodboil number 2, group 4 steps backwards, takes the Bloodboil, and then moves back into the stack, and you repeat this throughout the entire fight. Gurtogg eventually casts Fell Rage on a random player. Gurtogg will focus that player, he casts Fell Geyser at their location, and everyone else needs to move away from the Fell Rage player. Healers need to keep that player alive, it's super important. Other than that, that's pretty much all the mechanics for this fight. So the super simple strategy for taking on Gurtogg is tanks stay 1, 2, and 3 on the threat meter, swap around 14 Acidic Wound stacks, be ready for Bewildering Strike swaps, and Bloodboil each group separately, rinse and repeat. Everyone get away from the Fell Rage player, and healers make sure to keep that player alive. You repeat this until he dies. Next we have Reliquary of the Lost. There are 3 phases and each one works completely different. For phase 1, it's going to be Essence of Suffering. Important to note, you cannot heal during this phase. Normal healing basically doesn't work for the entirety of this phase. Healers should just DPS instead, and Soul Drain needs to be dispelled. As for tanks, tanks start by tanking the boss. After that, rotate players capable of surviving if needed. Rogues with evasion, warriors, etc. Anyone basically with strong defensives. For phase 2, this will be Essence of Desire. This phase is all about interrupts and dispels. Spirit Shock must be interrupted. Keep an interrupt rotation going, it's extremely important. The boss will also cast Rune Shield. Dispel it immediately. If Rune Shield stays up, you're going to have some problems interrupting Spirit Shock. It's also important to note that your damage is reflected back at you in this phase, so DPS need to watch their own health, and don't kill yourself by accident by mindlessly pumping. For phase 3, it will be Essence of Anger. For tanks, use 1 tank here. This helps avoid unnecessary seethe problems. The raid gets a stacking effect that increases your damage, and also increases the damage you're taking. The longer the phase lasts, the more dangerous it becomes. Hunters can use Trank Shot to remove the boss's attack speed buff, and players will receive Spite. You're temporarily immune to damage. After roughly 6 seconds, you're going to get hit very hard. Use defensives if you get Spite. Healers should prepare shields and mitigation for these players. Next, we have Mother Shah'raz. Melee, stack at the left statue directly underneath the floating lamp. Range, stack to the left of the left statue beneath the trees under the floating lamp. And tanks, tank Mother slightly farther away from that statue. Her back should obviously be toward the melee. Use 3 tanks here. All 3 tanks need to share Saber Lash damage. All 3 tanks should run in together on the pull as well to avoid anyone else taking Saber Lash damage. Fatal Attraction is the main mechanic here. If you're targeted, run away from each other and away from the raid, kind of in a triangle formation. Spread apart as quickly as possible. Engineers, use your rocket boots here, and if you don't have rocket boots, Shadow Resistance is extremely helpful to not die. So the super simple strategy for taking on Mother is 3 tanks stack and run in together. Melee stands at the left statue, range is at the designated range stack. When you get Fatal Attraction, get out and separate away from each other as fast as possible. Rocket boots make this much easier, but if you don't have them, again, you can use some Shadow Resist gear. Otherwise, just pump the boss. Next, we have the Illidari Council, probably the hardest fight in here. All 4 bosses share 1 health pool. The biggest part of this fight is simply getting your positioning and assignments correct. You're going to have a mage tank, and that person is going to tank Zerevor. Your mage starts the pull, your mage tanks Zerevor. It's a similar idea to the High King Mulgar fight in Gruul's Lair. Spell Steal Dampen Magic and maintain threat on Zerevor. The mage tanks him around the southwest side of the room. Your other tanks. Gathios, we could have a druid tank, Varus, another druid tank, and Lady Melande, a paladin tank. But realistically, you could switch this up to fit your raid. As for positioning, stack Gathios, Varus, and Melande toward the southeast corner of the room. Slowly kite/backpedal them around as necessary to avoid Consecration, Blizzard, Flame Strike, and other ground effects. Melande needs to remain close enough for interrupts and cleaves. It's super important to designate people to make sure they are interrupting Melande. For melee, your primary target is generally going to be Varus, but watch Gathios' Consecration. It really hurts and you have to get out immediately. For ranged, your primary target is generally Gathios. However, your target will change depending on the buffs currently active on each boss. For example, if Gathios puts up his magic resist aura, casters should swap to Lady Melande or Varus. If Melande has magic resistance up, swap to Varus. This is going on throughout the entire fight. After 1 or 2 pulls, if you guys wipe, you'll tend to understand what's actually happening. At some point or another, each boss becomes immune to physical or magic, and that goes for the interrupts and damage. So this is going to be something that you have to learn how to manage. But essentially, attack whoever is currently vulnerable to your damage type. Physical and magic DPS will constantly be swapping targets. Lady Melande's interrupts are very important, as I mentioned earlier. Make sure you're keeping interrupts on her the entire time. This changes depending on her protection though. If she has Blessing of Protection active, physical interrupts won't work, so you have to use mages or shamans. If she has magic protection up, you need to pummel her as a warrior or kick as a rogue. So the super simple strategy for the Illidari Council is the mage tanks Zerevor southwest, other 3 bosses are stacked and tanked southeast and backpedaled around the room. Melee primarily focuses on Varus, casters on Gathios, but you're going to be swapping targets based on protection and resistance buffs throughout the entire fight. Keep Melande interrupted, avoid Blizzard, Flame Strike, and Consecration, and slowly kite bosses around the room as necessary. Now for Illidan Stormrage. For positioning, tank Illidan at the sides of the circle, face him away from the raid, and slowly kite him around the circle as necessary to avoid blue fire. Ranged initially stack together. If you get Parasite, you have to get out of the raid. Run to your designated location. Hunters can place a Frost Trap underneath the player before the Parasite spawns, but once the Parasite spawns, the raid needs to kill it immediately. It's also important to note that in this phase, Illidan will cast a frontal cone attack called Draw Soul. This will hit people in front of him for 4,500 plus shadow damage and heal Illidan. So in this phase, you want to keep up either a Mortal Strike, an Aim Shot, or a Rogue's Wound Poison to mitigate some of those healing effects. You only need one though because they will not stack. At 65%, Illidan begins the Elemental phase. Split your ranged players into groups around the circle. Ideally, you want to have 3 ranged groups, but if you don't have enough, 2 works fine. The 2 Flame Elementals need to be tanked on opposite sides of the circle. Keep each elemental relatively close to its glaive, face them away from the raid, and move around the circle as necessary. DPS needs to focus down one elemental first and then move on to the second. During this time, everyone should be avoiding eye beams, fire on the ground, and don't get caught in bad positioning while moving around the circle. Also keep in mind that whoever is tanking these elementals in this phase definitely needs some fire res gear on. Once both flame elementals die, everyone stacks back up, and this is where you're trying to end the fight. It's now go time, and you're going to be popping Lust and all DPS cooldowns, and I mean everything. The goal is to absolutely pump Illidan and get him to 35% as quick as possible. If your raid has enough damage, you can potentially skip Demon Form entirely. Continue handling the basic mechanics. Avoid fire, parasites get out, kill ads, don't stand in bad, keep Illidan controlled. The only new ability you should see from here on to the end of the fight is Summon Shadow Demons. This will summon 4 Shadow Demons at the feet of Illidan. Each demon will choose a random member and stun them while projecting a purple beam towards that player. The demon will move towards the player, and if the demon reaches the player, that player will instantly die. You need to kill these demons as soon as possible. But like I said earlier, if you have enough DPS, you might not even have to see this mechanic. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed my super simple guide for Black Temple. If you did, drop it a like, drop some comments down below, and follow me over on Twitch at twitch.tv/hammerdance. Subscribe to the channel if you guys love Classic WoW just as much as me. Thank you all so much for watching and listening in. I'll see you all in the next one.